of Taboo Tuesday. I am super excited for this topic. We are talking about money and values. I know in so many cultures, money is taboo. I've been told by people to just never talk about money. And we're going to do exactly the opposite today. I am here with my dear friend, Katie Stych. She was one of my first friends ever in college, so that's wild and wonderful. And before we get into the good stuff, I am Sophia Finster. I'm the host of this podcast. I am a mobility specialist, meditation teacher, and yoga instructor. You can view this on Instagram TV, YouTube, or coming soon as a podcast on different podcasting services. I'll announce that as soon as I get the tech stuff ready for that. Please, if you're interested in this topic, like, subscribe, follow, comment, review, all those things depending on what platform you are on. I really appreciate it, and it helps spread these conversations, these topics, these ideas to more brains, and hopefully encourages more conversations where people are able to be vulnerable and connect with each other. And that's the good stuff. All right. So, Katie, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Sure. My name is Katie Stych, and like Sophia said, I was her first friend in college. But after that, I went to college. I studied finance in college, and then I worked at a big institutional firm where I was doing money management for like 401k companies and big companies. And then I switched to being a personal financial advisor. And a lot of that journey was because I didn't feel like I was really making an impact on that larger institutional level. And I don't know if anyone else has felt this way with work, but I just was noticing the questions and the conversations around money that I was hearing were not really reflective of the knowledge I had gained or applicable to the people who had needs. So that's what led to my transition to being a financial advisor. And now I live in California. I work for a company called Abacus Wealth Partners, and I'm a financial advisor for people like you.
Yes, and the way that we got to this topic, Katie and I actually traded services. So I've started my own company. One thing that I do is try to trade services. So as somebody who just started a new business, I know that finance and accounting are things that I need to be learning. I also went to business school, but that was, a while back, and I wasn't ever thinking that I would have a small business. So Katie and I connected, and I asked her, would you trade some mobility services for some of your finance services, which was great. That ended up working out really well. And I'm going to be honest, I was a little nervous talking about money with somebody because, it's a taboo. But after we had 2 sessions together, I learned a lot. I found an accountant. I've talked to an accountant. And I've just really felt empowered actually by being honest with myself about my financial situation. And then, feeling comfortable talking to somebody and knowing that they're not going to judge me for it, that they're not going to, reprimand me or, think this or that they're really just here to help me understand how to take care of my own finances.
Yeah. I mean, what you're talking about is what I experience a lot, kind of being on the other side of the table there, of not really sure how money has been presented to a person, or not sure what sort of emotional experiences they've had around money. But I think everyone listening to this can think of, a memory with money and an association with it, maybe when you were a kid and the way your parents were talking to you about it, or I don't know, maybe after working or something like that, where money has become a symbol or representative of something. And usually it's something a little uncomfortable, or the product of something that you don't want to deal with. Like sometimes I hear people, they just don't want to look at their bank account, because if they don't look at their bank account, they don't know how much money they do or don't have. So it's not really a problem, and we all know that is actually a problem. Bringing more awareness awareness around that is a steps toward the solution. So that's why I'm really happy that Sophia invited me to this, because just bringing these things to light and speaking about them is bringing us all closer to more awareness around our money.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. And like, you know, I've been in that same place myself. I'm like, I don't want to know, like, as a new business, how much loss I'm incurring right now. But like, once you know it, like, I was actually able to set out a 6-month plan, a year plan. I'm still working on the year plan. But, you know, you're actually able to look into the future and be like, okay, what services or products do I have to provide? Or, you know, if you don't have a business, what kind of money is coming in the door or not coming in the door, and what expenses in my life can I alter to you know, be more financially secure and not you know, try to get out of debt or not be in debt, because we all know that debt just eats up your money and nobody likes that. Yeah, so before we dive into the topics, I actually want, Katie is teaching a class coming up soon, just this Thursday. I'm enrolling in it. I know some other friends of mine are enrolling in it. So can you share a little bit more about why you're offering this for free and who this class is for and how you can sign up if you want to start learning about finance?
Are just starting working, or you're just starting to accumulate money in a way that you never have before, and it's bringing up more complications in your life. We're going to go through goals and values. We're going to get a good understanding of what you want from your life and where money falls into place there. And then that will inform budgeting, investing, saving for retirement, getting insurance, health insurance, renter's insurance, and then finally estate planning, which I've been told to never ever use this term estate planning because it reigns such a weird connotation, but it's really hard for me not to. But basically, preparing the documents for when you can't make decisions for yourself, which is totally important, especially for young people, but we forget that sometimes.
Yeah, that honestly has never been on my mind, but I'm excited to learn about it because, yeah, I've had to have this conversation with my parents, you know, like what happens when things change, and yeah, it's a reality that's going to happen to all of us. We haven't figured out how to live forever yet.
Yes. That's like, my job is Taboo Tuesday. Like, my job is, I'm the one who has to talk to you about who's going to pay your rent when you don't have income, or what's going to happen to you when you die, what's going to happen to your kids. I'm the one who has to bring that up, which granted, I don't say it so bluntly, obviously, but I think I love that you're doing this, Sophia, because it is so taboo, but it's so necessary. Everybody needs to be having a stake in their life. I mean, you've brought it up, like business owners. I mean, everyone is the chief financial officer of their life. I'm CFO of Katie Incorporated, you know, and where are you going with your life? And the same way you have a business plan, you should have a life plan, you know, and I know some people don't like thinking about it like that, and it doesn't have to be set in stone, but you especially when you're young, you have a lot of advantages to your life because you have more time. And really, that's what money is about to me, is about time. Time is the resource that we can't renew. Money you can get more of, but you'll never get more of time. And money and time are usually kind of related because you know, things that might take more time cost more money, or working more might make you more money but take away your time. So I feel like that's more of what I help my clients do. I'm more like a time traveler than a money maker.
I love thinking about it like that too. I know in last week's episode I talked about seasonal depression, and I talked about this book, Lost Connections. There's actually 2 chapters in this book about meaningful values. And they immediately start talking about, there's a great story of this one guy who was asked to go speak to families about money in school. And he immediately realized he did not understand why these teenagers needed these certain things, like certain brands of products. And he really realized that certain things made people feel like they had the sense of belonging. And, you know, that's a whole nother episode on capitalism. But I think like he started just like improvising in this workshop and trying to like think about like, okay, why do we value what we value? And, you know, that involves money. So one of the questions that he asked people is, to me, money is, and then fill in the blank. And I mean, even hearing that, I like felt some stuff, right? Because he said that he got answers about like, to me, money is scarce. To me, money is stressful. To me, money is painful, you know? And then he helped people think about, okay, what do you value in your life? Do you value time with your kids? Do you value taking hikes outside? Do you actually value buying a specific brand? Do you actually value having a specific logo on your shirt? Maybe you do, but maybe you don't, right? And I think like for me, thinking about it that way has helped me be more excited about learning about finance because it really is that, right? Like, let's say like, you know, let's say I have $100 and I have to choose how I want to, you know, money is a concept of how we put value into money. So maybe I have $100 and I have to decide like, how do I match this $100 with my values? Does that mean buying a nice meal? Does that mean buying a nice dress? Does that mean investing it? Does that mean putting it towards my business? Does that mean like buying a nice walking stick so I can go hiking? You know, and thinking about it that way has been more exciting to me because, you know, like, I think we all also get so caught up in the present moment. And another question that he asked in this workshop was, how do you feel a day after you buy something? How do you feel a week after you buy something? How do you feel a year or 5 years after you buy something? And personally, that's helped me do less like impulse purchases, right? Because maybe we see an Instagram advertisement or like an advertisement somewhere, you know, we see like thousands of advertisements a day. And maybe you're like, ooh, that'd be cool. That'd make me happy. Like, I want to buy that. But what I'm trying to do is sleep on it at least a few nights. And then most of the time I realize like, I don't actually like want to prioritize that in my life.
Right. Yeah. You're hitting on it. To me, that lends itself to budgeting and, you know, bringing intention to your life. We talk about that all the time. You know, when I go to yoga, I set an intention for the session, but that's kind of what you're doing with your money is, we all have limited resources, limited money. Doesn't matter how much you make, there's an end to it. And then it's, well, what do I want to do with that? Do I want to, you know, even, and the scenarios you were talking about were, a lot like how I'm spending it, but then there's the other aspect of investing it. Okay. And then how do I want to invest it? Especially nowadays, there's so many options for ESG investing, which is kind of aligning your money with your values and in businesses that are doing business that you want to support. And
can you share what ESG stands for?
Yeah, ESG stands for environmental, social, and governance screens to investing. And there's kind of 3 tenets to that. It's to divest. That means to not invest in companies that you don't want to support. So maybe like oil companies or high carbon emission companies. And then there's the invest component, which is to put your money to companies that you want to support. So maybe like solar energy companies or something like that. And then the most important part is actually the engagement aspect of that. So when you become a shareholder in a company, you technically are an owner in that company. You're a tiny owner, but as a collective, and we're starting to see this, and as more and more people start to engage with their money and investing in this way, we can start to have some leveraging power as a collective whole of shareholders that want a company to act in a certain way. You are able to commit your vote as an owner to vote for the company policy to be this way or that way. And I think that's the most powerful thing that, you know, or just a cool advantage to investing, because maybe people had typically thought about investing as like the thing that my grandpa did, or like a way to make money fast, which it can be, but there's so many other ways to invest. And what I was talking about there is what is called ESG investing.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. I've like dabbled in that a tiny bit, but I think it is really cool. Like I've heard people say like, oh, like if you invest, you have to support all these big companies that maybe you don't support, and you know that's a personal decision entirely. But I think it's really extremely powerful. I know a few years ago, the CEO of Vanguard put out a big statement and talked about the necessity of companies to start being more environmentally sustainable. And I think the financial world has a huge leverage on that. But again, maybe that's another topic for another episode.
Yeah.
So I'm loving all these topics. I know another thing that we wanted to get to is talking about money and oppression and power. And that is a lot.
Yeah. Well, there's, of course, that reigns probably like a negative feeling, or like the man or whatever. We all know those statistics. I don't know if you guys have seen too, but that website that quantifies and visualizes like how much money the richest people in the world have, and it's just so much more, so not fathomable, and obviously that does lead to power, especially in light of the conversation we just had about ESG investing, about, you know, the leveraging power that more money has in the world, which I suppose is negative. But the positive side of that, or how I like to talk to my clients about that, is empowerment. You've already mentioned this, but bringing awareness, bringing knowledge, and a plan around your money actually gives you the power and makes you have power, you know, regardless of the money being a lot or a little. And I think that's more of what's cool about money. Granted, this is a little different than oppression, but another thing that's neat about that is money is starting to exchange into more diverse hands. Previously, investing, I mean, in the channel that I'm working in with financial advisors, was usually a man working the job and a man being the one he's talking to. His wife might be in the room, but she has no idea what they're talking about, and not even really interested anyway. But that's actually not reflective of what we're seeing as trends. So I have some facts that are pretty interesting. So for one, women make the overwhelming majority of household financial decisions. Women make about 80% of the decisions in the home. You know, I mean, granted, that's if it's in a household where she's not single. And then 40% of women are the primary or sole breadwinner in their household. So that's pretty interesting. And this is the one that's crazy to me. Women will control 2/3 of US wealth by 2030. That's
Wow.
wild, right? And I take that to heart, because I like to cherish how women and men are different, and not that one is better than the other or anything like that, but they're different, and every individual is different, honestly. I mean, and gender is a spectrum anyway too. So beyond that, like beyond those statistics, it's just that there will be implications due to that shift of money. And I can speak to those a little bit of how that's changing the field of financial advising and how information is being spread. But is there anything else that you would like to hear about, Sophia?
Yeah, I think this is all fascinating. Like I'm eating this up. I think one thing that we talked about a little bit before that was also very interesting to me, for me to learn from you, was about how you said that, I don't know, like many years ago, in the past, in the financial field, you were often, or people who were doing this line of work were often incentivized to work with people with more money, because then they could get more money. Mm-hmm. And I think that's a stereotype that I used to have for people in the finance world as far as, oh, like only rich people need financial consulting, or like only like, like I'm not making tons and tons of money, so like this isn't for me. Like people would scoff at me if I would try to talk to them with like the amount of money that I have. But I'm learning that's definitely not the case. And I think if you could maybe share a little bit about how that's changed, and there's still probably part of the industry that incentivizes people like you to work with wealthy people. But I'm hearing you say that you obviously care about actually helping people, and like you want to help people regardless of how much money that they have.
Yeah, you're bringing up so many good points. So just a little background on the past. Of course there are good people and there's bad people in the world and doing every type of job. And so in the past, there were some businesses that were set up in a way to, like you were saying, incentivize you to want to work with only people who had this much money. Or you would want to be incentivized to put them in this type of investment, regardless of whether that's a good fit for that person or not. And there have been a lot of changes, a lot of regulation, and I'm really like proud of that too. The financial field is super regulated to protect people, because it is so it can be a place where you can be taken advantage of because there's so much complication. But there are a lot of regulations out there. And so one thing that you as listeners should know about is this term called fiduciary. And what that means is if you're working with someone and they're a fiduciary, they have to put your needs above theirs. And so that means that if when they're making you a recommendation, they need to give you the best, the option and the recommendation that's in your best interest, not what's might be in their best interest, or how they might get a kickback if they put you in, give you this recommendation. Someone will like buy them a baseball ticket or something like that. That won't work for fiduciaries. So fiduciaries are good people to work with in the financial field, but a little bit of like how people get paid, and this is important for you to ask if you're looking for financial help with an advisor, is what their fees are. And most have a fee that's based on the amount that you invest with them. The firm that I work for has that too. So it's not necessarily like all evil, but that's the one that lends itself to, you get a percentage of the assets that you manage. So if the assets are larger, you make more money. But there's another style that's like a fee for planning service model. So we do that in the form of monthly fees. And we do ongoing planning. And I mentioned it a little bit when I talked about my series, but what I do and how I help clients with their money is a lot more than just how to invest it. It's about, how do I help you with a budgeting plan? How do we get you to your goal of buying a house? Things like that. And then once you have your house, making sure that you have enough insurance, or that if once you have a child, do you have life insurance and things like that. We're just kind of that quarterback or that CFO for your life, to give you that advice. And then it's really rewarding too, because I get to see my clients live the life that they want to live. And the only thing I'm doing is just kind of providing objective, steady advice.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is so helpful. I think like one thing that I'm learning a lot in my life right now is just like the power of working with a coach or an expert in that field. Like working with you, Katie, has really been empowering to me. I found an accountant that specializes in online fitness businesses that has helped me. Like, I'm kind of somebody who wants to figure it out myself. So like I could sit around and Google for like 10 hours, or I could just have a 30-minute call and pay somebody for their time. Right. I've also started working with Josh Helbert, a really great functional range conditioning mobility coach. And again, I think like Some people are very stubborn. I'm definitely very stubborn. And, you know, like we think like, oh, I want to figure it all out myself. Like I want to, you know, do everything myself. And there's definitely something to that. It can be a lot of fun. It can be very empowering, but it's not one or the other, right? So like, I'm not going to see Katie every single week with my money. I don't need that from her, right? She knows that I don't need that from her. But, you know, if I ever am in a place where I realize that I need a little bit of extra help, I'm going to go ahead and reach out. And there are many ways to do this. Like you said, there are the monthly membership fees. There are a one-time consult with somebody. And I think it can be scary, you know, opening up to somebody about your financial situation, whatever it is. But I think in the long run, it really is worth it because, you know, as humans, I think one of our fatal flaws is that need for instant gratification, right? Like, it's why we do point of purchases. That's why we buy that Twix bar. That's why we, you know, like, and that's not like a horrible thing always. But when we're able to like take a pause and realize like, you know, I have these resources and hopefully I'm going to live for, you know, this many more years or decades or whatever. I want to make sure I not only take care of today, Sophia, but also take care of like Sophia when she's 60. And money is one thing that can be very helpful to allow you to plan for that.
Yeah. And then also giving money is cool, or like putting your money where your values are. Like if you want to shop at, you know, your local supermarket, your local organic supermarket, and you know that it's going to cost more, or like to eat healthier organic food, it's going to cost more. That's a choice you can take. And, you know, I'll pay more for organic groceries today, so I won't pay as much on new clothes right now, you know. And it's all a balance. And that's, you hit the nail on the head, Sophia. It's about, you know, living for today, but being cognizant of tomorrow, and using money as the tool in your arsenal of all the things you should be doing in your life to live for today and also for tomorrow, you know.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Any last ideas or topics you want to share before we wrap this up, Katie?
No, I think this has been really good. I think your listeners will have a good idea of, you know, what money is in the world, what money might mean to them, and then some tools for help. And so if anyone's interested, that class would be a great first step because it's free. It's going to be fun. I swear it's going to be fun. And you'll leave with a plan for your life. So I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah, definitely. And again, like the sooner you can learn these things, like the better, I think, you know. Like I've you know, with investing, like I had to take intro to accounting in college. It's probably the worst grade I've got in college, but you know, like the basics of like money, like if you invest something earlier, it's going to grow more. And, you know, I'm not going to, again, get into that too much because I'm not the expert here, but learning these skills when you're younger, I think is also really empowering. And like, you know, we can't go into the past. So like wherever you are in life right now, like, you know, learning is great and it can only help you, really. Yeah. So who knows, maybe we'll do future episodes about other topics related to money or not related to money. Again, so this Taboo Tuesday is able to be viewed on Instagram TV, on YouTube, coming soon on podcasting services. I'm super excited for that. All those channels are at Sophia Finster. If you liked this, if you appreciated this, go ahead, like, comment, subscribe, review, whatever channel you're on. Show some love, share this with your friend if you think that they would enjoy it. And if you're interested, go ahead and sign up for this class. It starts this Thursday, I believe, what is that, October 15th? Mm-hmm. Yes, I'll put the link for it in all the descriptions of all the things. I think they're going to be sending out the recordings, so if you can't make the specific times, sign up anyways. You know, you don't have to be present at every single thing. Of course, the more you're present, the better it's going to be.
And do it with your friends, because then you can talk about it together and make everything less taboo, and it's just going to be better when we're all helping each other. So invite your friend and talk to them about it.
Yeah, I already have an accountability buddy. My friend James is going to be taking it with me, so I can see him virtually. We can text about it. And yeah, trying to normalize these topics and not make anybody feel icky, because nobody likes to feel icky. All right. Thank you so much for watching. If you have any ideas for topics, if you want to be a co-host, go ahead, reach out to me on whatever platform you would like. Thank you for watching. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you next week. Bye.